360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together, we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the Body Alchemist, Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. What's going on, everybody, on this Friday, the 14th of December 2018, as we are actually in the last few weeks of 2018. It has been quite an awesome year, quite an interesting year. Many things have taken place, many things continue to take place. I hope for all of you out there tuning in and listening, life is progressing in the positive for you. We've got a beautiful, wonderful, amazing guest for our interview this week. We are going to be interviewing Miss Riana Milne, certified dating and relationship coach, licensed mental health counselor, and #1 best-selling author. That's right, we are doing it big here. I am so excited to have the honor of Miss Milne and interviewing her and talking to her. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you for real, everyone, I was shook. I was kind of shook. I was kind of nervous because first things first, I was like, wow, she's this big time author. She's had a #1 bestseller. And I was really nervous. And you know what? She was just one of the nicest, sweetest people ever. I butchered her bio, but I told her I would make up for it by doing it over for her. As you all know, we pre-record our interviews, and the interview touched on so many things. Let me just let you all know that she is very, very good at her craft. She is passionate about her craft, and it was actually quite an eye-opening experience. Some of the things she talked about, basically, which dealt with relationship children and relationship trauma, dating trauma, and I am quite certain I am not saying all of that correctly, but pardon me. She touched on so many things, and one thing I'm going to tell you that I'm learning more and more is that we have to handle our feelings, our emotions, and our mental and spiritual aspects early on. When I say handle, I mean we have to learn how to deal with certain things. Again, we always talk about the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. Well, let me tell you something. If you don't continue your mental health, if you don't do the things that's going to help you become spiritually stronger, then I'm telling you it's no different than your body. And I am a personal witness to this, because we as human beings, in our everyday life and encounters, we deal with trauma. Maybe not to the degree we think we do, but I will say this. You never know what can make a person act in a certain way. You never know what experience is going to tip a person in a certain direction. I have a friend of mine, and when he was younger, the girl that he loved broke up with him. Now, we were young children. When I say young, I mean I'm saying like maybe 12 years old. We were young people, all right? And at that time, it didn't seem serious, but in his mind, he decided from that moment on he would never, ever put a certain amount of feelings out there for somebody because it hurt that bad. Over several years, I watched this individual have relationships with individuals, break up, date, go from one individual to the next. And I'm going to tell you, I was like, wow, and I've watched this individual, this friend of mine, as he grew. I watched him grow up. I watched him grow more mature. I watched him in and out of relationships. And now he is in a loving relationship, and a very mature relationship. And I've seen him mature as he's gotten older, and it's taken a while. Sometimes it takes us all a while. It's not all of us, but it takes some of us a while. And I'm gonna tell you something. We were having, I like to call these conversations when it's a group of guys. We were having grown man talk. And we were all sitting down there and we were just talking about our relationships, our things going on with us. And honestly, I'm going to tell you something. He came out, he was like, well, ever since that one incident when we were 12 years old, he was like, I just never was going to feel that pain again. And I was like, wow, that really affected you that deeply. He was like, you have no idea. And it just goes to show you, we never know what affects a person. We play things off, but in truth, and for some of you out there, you might be, you might not take it seriously. You might be like, oh, you're being too soft or whatever. We don't know what affects individuals. We as human beings, especially in the Western world, in my opinion, don't have enough respect for each other. We don't have enough respect for each other. We do not have the respect that it takes to grow, to help one another. I have, grown up in Philadelphia the majority of my life. I've traveled to different cities. I've been to New York. New York, I feel, is like my second home. And I watch, how I interact with individuals in certain places, in certain regions. And individuals in certain places just don't have the respect. And it's not that it's not they don't have the respect, it's that at least if you grow up in the East Coast, you're taught, it's a show and prove. You don't respect anybody until they show you they're worthy of respect. Growing up in my neighborhood of North Philadelphia, I'll never forget, you could like a young girl, you could like a young woman, and if she thought you were soft, then you got no play. For those people out there that don't know what that means, you just got nowhere with her, and it was like that even just hanging out with the guys. If they thought you were weak, if somebody thought you were weak, you had a problem. And I feel, unfortunately, that is something that continues throughout our society. It's like somewhere down the line, we have this thing in us where we feel we have to test each other. I have to test your how tough you are. I'm gonna give you an example. Have you ever been at a job and you had a supervisor that would say something to you, act a certain way around you, do certain things, maybe put certain responsibilities on you that they wouldn't put on somebody else in the same position? And you wonder what the hell is going on. And then when you talk to them, it's like, well, this isn't my job. And they try to really, excuse my language, they try to really shit on you. I don't know if any of you have had that experience. I've had that. And it came to me that, it wasn't until I actually stood up for myself. It wasn't until I actually said, listen, it's not my job. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. You're going to have to get that person to do it because you don't get them to do it. It wasn't until I stood fast that what took place was that individual started to say, oh, I can't talk to this person that way. Or I can't do that. And the thing of it is I've noticed that even in the gym, when I go into the gyms and things like that, there's always that one guy who wants to test and see where he rates among you. You know what I mean? And I've seen that, and I've had friends like that. I even had a friend of mine, shout out to Rob Miller, one of the former hosts of the show. He was telling me about a scenario where it was him and a friend, and the guy was looking at him and it was like, yo, basically, trying to see just how strong Rob is. Now, for those of you that have never seen Rob is about 6 foot, 300 pounds. He's a big, strong guy. And he said the guy who is now a friend of his was just trying to categorize him in his head as to the type of person that he is. Because for those of you that have never met Rob is one of the nicest, kindest human beings you will ever meet. Very funny guy, very polite, but strong as all hell. And this guy was just trying to see where he was, and he didn't understand. So he invited him to the gym. Rob went. They worked out. And, the guy lifted. They were doing a lift called a deadlift. And the guy lifted about maybe 455, 465. And Rob did like 500, and they were going up in weight. And Rob went up to a weight where he wasn't necessarily certain, but he tried it. He tried it and he made it. And as Rob was telling me this story, he was just saying that the two of them became best friends. But later, he said, he said, I really had respect for you because you came out and you worked out with me. I didn't know how strong you were or anything like that, but I really have respect for you and the fact that, you worked out with me and, you're a strong guy. Now, maybe I'm losing points of this story. I might be losing points of it, and I apologize if I do. And Rob was like, that's one of his best friends. And to me, I will say this, nothing against his friend, but I've always been weary of people, just me, who try to test you like that. My thing is the fact of, who are you to test me? Who are you to test me? You know what I mean? Like, you're not the creator. You're not anybody that's in charge of me. Who are you to test me? And that's kind of what I'm talking about. In our society, we have that mentality that we constantly need to test each other. My question is, why? Why? What is your need to try to see if you're better, to try to see if you can get over, what have you? But I kind of digress from the topic, as I tend to do. I'm gonna get back to it. Miss Milne sat down with us and was talking about how these moments affect us, how these moments or certain experiences we have dealing with dating, relationships, affect us in our childhood, and how they can affect us later in life. And I was kind of, what I was kind of saying in my long rant that I just had there was the fact of so many moments can affect us. So many moments. We had Nick Slot-Damius on. Strong, powerful guy, powerlifting champion, bodybuilding champion. And he was saying that experiences, how his experiences with bullying changed his persona, changed how he thought about things. To his own words, he was like, the old him is dead. The way he looks at things, the way he perceives and deals with people, and he's one of the nicest, most respectful men you've ever known. But, he was saying, because of how serious the bullying was, because of how life-threatening, it changed his persona, changed how he sees and relates to people at times, and again, we have to do better. I have to do better. We all have to do better. I'm doing the man in the mirror. I'm looking at myself. We have to do better. We have to do better. Why? Because we have children. We have the youth who are looking at us. They are looking at us, and they are taking our actions as their actions. And that is something that we greatly need to take under consideration. All right, enough of that. I'm not going to go super in depth with that. You know how I am when it comes to these conversations. I don't like to talk too much. Funny, the guy with a podcast doesn't like to talk too much. But I hope everything I said made sense. Anyway, we got a great show. It's going to be so much fun. We got the trainer's trainer, Jeffrey Snyder. He's back with us. It's going to be awesome as he sits down in the Dropping the Jewels section and discusses an interesting topic. It's going to be so much fun. Thank you all for tuning in. You are home with the De La Fit podcast. Kick your feet up. Grab a biscuit or whatever it is, some tea, some coffee, or just sit back in your favorite chair. Relax. It's the De La Fit Podcast.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit Podcast.
De La Fit Podcast is now available on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play Music.
If you're just tuning in, it's the De La Fit Podcast. I constantly say that. I don't know why I act as though the show is live when we are pre-taped. But, and maybe it's because, you know what, I did a very brief stint on radio, like the smallest stint ever. So I don't know. Maybe it's because you're walking into a room and somebody is playing the podcast. Maybe you're getting into an Uber and somebody, is playing the podcast. But for whatever reason, if you're just listening to this segment now, welcome to the De La Fit Podcast, and welcome to this exciting interview that we have with a Miss Riana Milne, best-selling author. I can't tell you how excited I was about this interview. I said it in the beginning of the podcast. I'm going to say it now. I was quite nervous, and I'm going to attempt to do now way better than I did that day of the interview and give her the intro that she much richly deserves by starting reading a little bit of her bio. Miss Riana Milne is a certified global life dating and relationship coach for over 10 years and a licensed mental health counselor for over 19 years. She's a #1 best-selling author, coach for the docuseries Radical Dating, Finding Lasting Love Over 40, and host of her live global radio show and podcast, Lessons in Life and Love, which can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and TuneIn. As a certified clinical trauma and addictions professional, Riana offers VIP one-on-one and group coaching for singles and couples through her Life and Love Training Academy. She coaches women, men, straight, and LGBT clients of all ages. Riana's app, Lessons in Life and Love, on the go, and her 2 books, the #1 bestseller, Love Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve, and its sister book, Live Beyond Your Dreams, From Fear and Doubt to Personal Power, Purpose, and Success, addresses life transitions, personal transformation, and relationships with yourself and others. Riana's Facebook page is Coach Riana Milne, and her websites are rianamilne.com and lessonsinlifeandlove.com. It is my pleasure, my distinct pleasure, to introduce to you all Riana Milne. Please enjoy.
Hi, Sunun Bay.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for having me on. Hi, everybody.
Riana, first and foremost, again, we'd like to thank you so much for being on the podcast. Again, as you may know or may not know, we are a podcast that deals with physical fitness, all right, as well as health and holistic health. And our belief is truly that you're not really healthy and fit unless you are mentally, spiritually, and physically healthy and fit. It's not just one single thing. It's a 360
mind, body, spirit.
That's right.
It is holistic for sure.
Totally.
Good.
So, can you do us a favor? Tell us a little bit more about your work as a life and love relationship coach. All right. How did you come?
Sure. Well, I've been the couples, singles, and family therapist for over 18 years. 14 of them was in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and then I moved to Delray Beach. And I decided to become certified in life and love coaching through RCI, Relationship Coaching Institute, to give a better, faster, and cutting-edge quality of transformation to my clients. It's definitely more supportive, like my VIP diamond get to text me and email me. So they have more access to me and therefore faster transformation. And it's much more educational. Like my programs, Dating to Mating and Relationship Rescue, involve both my books, Live Love Beyond Your Dreams, but also a 150-page manual that's based in research of how to have emotionally healthy, conscious, and evolved love, and how to make sure, you're staying free from toxic relationships. So this is all based in research because this was the information none of us got in school. Even
Correct.
with my master's in psychology, we did not learn what I'm going to discuss with your listeners today. And I found it so cutting edge that this is what I developed my coaching programs around.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, you specialize in those who have experienced childhood trauma.
Correct.
How
Or
does
dating and love trauma. So those three. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how does that hold one back from having a life and love relationship, the type that they dream and deserve?
Well, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't change what you don't understand. So I went on this journey for myself after I annulled marriage to someone who everybody thought was wonderful, but he had a secret life. And when that exploded, on him and me and the community and our families, I said, what does he have that made him do these things and risk everything?
Right.
And it started out with a research on ACOA, which is adult child of an alcoholic, which he was.
Okay.
But then there was deeper issues, and it ends up he had 10 out of the 10 traumas. Now, there's actually 20 childhood traumas, but in interviews I talk about the top 10 because of time, and these to me are the most popular and prevalent I have seen in my clients as a therapist. So if you'd like, I'll be glad to explain what those 10 are.
Yes, please do. Please, please.
Okay. And I'm going to advise the listeners before I do that to get a piece of paper and a pen and write 3 long columns on the paper. And the first column, put me, because if this happened to you, I want you to make a check mark. If it happened to a partner that you're either with or was before and you remember a lot of fighting, a lot of volatility, put partner. And at the end, put parents. And as I'm going through that, put mom or dad if it applies, that it happened to them as children, because the research shows childhood trauma not only impacts 90% of us, have at least 1 to 3 of the top 10, but also it goes through the generations. So at the end, I do offer your listeners a free session, a free chance to meet with me. It's a $500 value. But I do ask, what of the traumas did you have? So it's very helpful if you write them down for me. That way I can help them best. Okay. So as I go through this, remember that you're a young, innocent child, so you have to think back with the mind of a child, not the adult looking back. Because most adults say, my childhood was pretty normal. I had a few bumps in the road, nothing drastic. I don't think I had trauma, but you'll be surprised. Now remember, you're a little person, so your capacity to process things emotionally is much more immature. It's young. And the little things mean a lot to the little child. So this is not to place blame or be mad at mom or dad or, be angry or feel guilty or shame. It's let's look at the facts and get them out, because that's the first step of working with trauma, looking at the facts of what occurred. So when you were little, did any of these happen? Number 1, your mom or dad had an addiction. Now, addiction, most people think of drugs and alcohol, but I'm going to give you 10. There's sex. So if there was a parent chronically cheating, porn, gambling, spending, hoarding, eating, gaming, TV watching, workaholism. Now there's 11. So if those things came before the love and nurturing of you should put that down and which one they were. Number 2 is verbal abuse, and this could be your mom and dad fighting back and forth and you witnessing it, which is witnessing domestic violence, or the verbal yelling was coming at you as well. Now, this also means not hearing the words, I love you. It also means having verbal put downs, like being told, oh, you're not good enough, or you'll never amount to anything. Anything kind of verbally put down, or given the silent treatment. If they were mad at you, they didn't talk to you for hours or days. Could be bullying, or also not getting verbal accolades like compliments. Great job, I'm proud of you. If you didn't hear things like that. Okay. Number 3 is emotional abuse or neglect, and we all pretty much know what that is. Right. But even in the research, they said if you were 9 to 5 parents and your child came home at 3 o'clock and had 2 hours to spend by themselves, that was a form of emotional neglect. Not that we were trying to cause harm to our kids, because I was a single mom for many years. Right. But, we were working to support them. So this is part of the research, okay? Number 4, physical abuse being hit or beat, rape or molestation, and those two could have occurred in or outside of the home. Number 5 is abandonment, false or no fault abandonment. Now, a no fault abandonment, 3 examples would be if a parent would happen to have died early, if they would have gone off to war to serve our country, or if they traveled a lot due to business because that's how they supported the family. Those are all no fault, but the child still feels a sense of abandonment.
Right.
And a false abandonment is, let's say there's a divorce, the father leaves the family home. He promises to pick the child up, he doesn't, or he's late. Or the child goes to their house and he spends more time with a girlfriend or in front of the football game, something like that.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so where they just feel neglected and abandoned. Okay. Number 6, if you were adopted, part of foster care, or needed to live with other relatives, or wanted to live with other families. You didn't want to go home, or mom or dad couldn't take care of each other. You would live at grandma's house or aunt or uncle or family friend, something like that. Number 7 is one of the most popular. It's personal trauma. This could mostly be wrapped around bullying, either at home or at school, not feeling good enough, not feeling like you fit in, feeling different. Being born with a medical condition or even being diagnosed at school as ADHD, that carries a stigma. Being overweight child, being skinny and gawky child, just something where you weren't feeling good enough. That one is most common. Number 8 is sibling trauma. This very often means that you perceived your sibling to be the golden child, meaning they were mom's or dad's favorite. So they got more accolades, compliments, or more attention. They might be more handsome or beautiful, to be the older or the youngest, more athletic, more intelligent. Just for some reason they seem to be the favorite. And also could be your sibling born with a medical condition that they commanded, they needed to have more of mom's or dad's time, or they bullied you. Those are all number 8. Number 9 is family trauma. However, I brought one from the later list up and joined it because this is becoming too much happening in our community, which is community trauma. So let's go into that one first. I'm talking about our school shootings, our mass shootings, Mother Nature ravishing our cities, our towns with floods, fires, hurricanes, volcanoes, massive destruction, by Mother Nature and wiping out houses. Now, of course, this is devastating to adults, but can you imagine the fear of a little child? So that child, if that happened to them, they're going to always crave security. They're always going to feel not safe enough, So community trauma is becoming rampant, and it was not originally one of my top 10, but it is now. And I joined that with family trauma. So family trauma is if the parent was incarcerated, if you grow up remembering a lot of lack or poverty, or grew up in dangerous communities where there was a lot of fear, moving a lot, like our military families moving every 2 to 4 years. These are some family traumas. And then the last one, mental health issues in either mom or dad. Now, in my generation, nobody went to counselors, nobody was diagnosed. But the two that are most difficult to live with is borderline personality, which is inherited, fast trigger anger. Exploding at the littlest thing, and you feel like you're walking on eggshells, and when they're great, they're great, when they're bad, they're horrid. That's borderline. And bipolar is manic and depressive. And a lot of people think manic, that's the good one, the happy one, right? Not necessarily. If you're a gambler, it's a gambling spree, or it could be a sex spree, spending, so that's like this really high anxiety and needing to escape into some form of addiction, usually is manic. And then depression can come out as anger, emotionally checking out, or just extreme fatigue. So those are the 10 traumas that we talk about. And like I said, 90% of people usually have 1 to 3 of them, with most people having a little bit more.
Wow.
So, did you do the checklist on this?
You know what? I'm I have a checklist right here, and as I'm listening to you, not only do I see certain things, I see friends and people I grew up with and people in my community. There's something in everything dealing with this, and I'm like, wow, that it's something I didn't. Some of them I didn't even take as traumas. You know, because
exactly, you don't as a
right.
kid. You just that's your normal.
Right.
It's just normal. Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens to the mind that dealing with relationships when this, you know, growing up with these type of traumas? Yeah,
let's talk about how these come out. So when people are starting to date, right? And those eventually, you know, in the very beginning, it's really loving and wonderful, and studies show that people of trauma attract people of trauma. So initially, there's a lot of attention and love and texting and phone calls, and you're like, wow, I got this best guy, or this woman's giving me so much attention, you know, showing my sex, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
That is, you know, they're thrilled in the beginning, and then normally 4 months to 9 months, when things become either exclusive or you move in together, you're engaged or married, things often extremely change. And some of the signs that start coming out is you could see control of you know, from your partner. They use often humor or charm to manipulate. They're overworking or overeating or spending. If they're nervous, they have trouble communicating about their fears or their anger or needs, or they could be passive aggressive. Wow. And then they start having a secret life. So some of the things that come out individually, let's talk about people pleasing, for example. This happens to a lot of women. This is where they can't say no, they overdo for others, and it makes them angry and resentful. But it's used to raise their self-esteem. And people pleasing was learned, let's say the little girl had an alcoholic mom, and the mom was a tyrant, or she was hungover or drinking, so she just overdid the mother, helping with the siblings, making the lunch, cleaning the house. And she found that overdoing equaled love. So this kind of woman who would come to me and say, I did so much for my husband and my kids, and nobody appreciates me. Nobody loves me as much as I love them. And to her, it just became normal. Like, why aren't they doing as much? You know, they may have actually better boundaries than she does.
Right.
This is what she found is a way to receive love. So it becomes a pattern. Let's talk about a man that's a habitual liar. He lies all the time. And if a couple comes in, this woman would say to me, he lies about the dumbest things he doesn't have to lie about, but he lies all the time. Why is that? Well, let's give an example. The little boy that comes home, he has an F on his test, I forget his test sign, so he changes it into an A. He says, if I can get away with this, I won't get beat today. Right. So signs that lying works. It's a survival skill. So if he lies, he's not going to get beat. So one lie builds another, and it becomes very expert at it as a coping mechanism, and it becomes just a way of normalcy to get through life when they're scared. And as an adult, if they lie, you know, manipulation can be a form of lying, you know, trying to present yourself as more than you are, you know, trying to impress people. Or, you know, you lie because you're afraid you might be punished, or your partner break up with you if they know the truth about who you really are. They may leave you. So lying is also meaning a lot of embellishment. Now, control comes from when a partner doesn't feel good enough. This is usually back to trauma number 7, along with jealousy. Right. Or that they lacked control when they were alone in their home, like mom and dad were fighting all the time, and they couldn't control it. And, you know, so they want to control everything in their environment. So this you see a lot with a lot of successful people. I have a lot of successful entrepreneurs that come to me because they're killing their business, but they're failing miserably in love. They keep having toxic relationships. They can't figure out why. They say, it was so great in the beginning. If I could just get back to how it was in the beginning, I'd be happy. And they don't understand that there is unconscious behavioral patterns within themselves and within the partner. So until they get this stuff, they're going blindly into relationships.
Wow.
So jealousy is a lack of trust and self-confidence and feeling like what you're offering to your partner is not good enough. So you start controlling their actions, and then that makes them angry, and they want to leave you. You know, so there's like 24 behavioral patterns that were identified. If these are what 4, you know, that I see a lot. The impulsivity, making risky choices that destroy your relationship. You know, not putting yourself first, or we see a lot of narcissism, which is a term really geared towards men. And the one that's for women is called histrionic, which is meaning the drama queen.
Okay.
You know, with a little princess that feels entitled. I have to feel this, I want this, you know, kind of spoiled brat.
Right,
And
right.
the man is the narcissist. I deserve this, I want this, you know, to hell with you, I'm going to do what I want to do. So that is also a big part of this. You know, people are like, oh, you know, I have a narcissistic partner. And it's like, well, they could also be sociopathic.
Right.
Now,
Right.
one in 25 people are sociopaths, according to the research. The book, The Sociopath Next Door by Martha Stout, she identifies 1 in 25 sociopathic. So sociopath means no regard for the person's feelings. They use people for pleasure or profit. And there's a lot of that going on today.
Yes,
Which is really
yes,
bad.
there is. Yes, there
Yeah.
is.
So that's the dynamic then that's really destroying a lot of the relationships. So what I do with my singles or my couples, let's talk about singles, is first we identify what their patterns, what their traumas were from their past. Then what traumas we're recognizing in their relationships as an adult. And we go through each significant relationship, what happened there, what was that partner like. And then we start the process of making the unconscious conscious. And this is all mindset work. So you are talking about, you know, everything begins with the mind. You're absolutely correct. So we have to get trauma out of the brain and the body and get you away from the unconscious emotional triggers that are sabotaging you in life and love. And that's what I do.
So, you know what? I'm listening to you, and I'm sure you can hear me as well as the listeners. I'm saying wow and things like that because all the things you're touching on, I've dealt with in some way, form, or another. Especially dealing with relationships, I've seen those actions, you know, and it's interesting to me because at least as a guy, you know, you're dating and, you know, and things like that, and or I should say, at least how I grew up with my friends, you know, you take certain actions and you kind of cast it off as the person wasn't the right one. You know what I mean? This individual, you know, you kind of just take it that way and you forget it. But it's listening to you, it's way deeper. It's way deeper than that. So
it is.
If someone doesn't heal their trauma, what takes place?
Well, first of all, again, it goes through the generation. So if you grew up with trauma and then you have a bad marriage and you have children, now your children are exposed to the toxic trauma as well. And I must tell you, all my parents, whether they're couples or singles, normally come to me with some broken relationships with their kids. They're struggling. So we do parenting work as well together. And it's amazing how quickly they can heal those relationships when we get down to it. You know, they have to learn what to do to patch that up. So these cycles, these toxic relationships just keep repeating. If you don't, and we call it, same person, different face.
Wow.
So it's the same personality type you'll attract over and over and over again, just a different face on that person, you know. So you really got to stop the patterns because I've had people come in. My oldest person was 73. And he was his fourth marriage. All the women left him, and his fourth one just said, I can't stand it anymore. You got to go. And he said, I'm going to die alone. You know, I don't know what to do. I try to be nice, you know. And he did have addiction in his past. He had gambling in his past and alcohol in his past, but he cleaned those up. But the personality stuff still remains. Because I'm clean. I get back to my community. I don't get what's going on. And I said, take a deep breath. We're going to get you beyond this. We're going to get to you the other side of the rainbow with this pot of gold, you know.
Right.
And now, well, for the past 3 years, he's had this amazing girlfriend, you know. They go on cruises together, and he goes, Riana, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. I go, thank God. He goes, but why'd I wait so long? So I always advise my listeners, don't wait. You know, take care of this. You know, get beyond, you know, the traumas and the unconscious patterns. They are emotional triggers that are unconscious. And we just think, you know, people should just get us and it should be fine. But you have to take responsibility and clean up the loose ends, you know, where where you are, adding to the problems in the relationship.
All right. So I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
With everything that we've talked about so far,
Right.
for me, even it starts to ask the question: what does an emotionally healthy relationship look like? Like, how does one navigate through all of the trauma that's out there,
Right.
to find that, all right, this is what it should be?
Yeah. Well, my book, Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve. I go into the first part is the toxic personalities that could break your heart.
Right.
So what to watch out for if you're dating or recognize within yourself. And then the end part is what does this emotionally healthy relationship look like? So it is very well defined in the book, and that's the one that went to #1 bestseller. But I'll give you some of the highlights, okay? Both partners will live the concept of you and me against the world. So you're protecting your relationship against others, making your partner feel safe and cherished always. So you're putting your partner first. A lot of people don't. They put their friends first, or a mama's boy will put his mother first.
Right.
Or so many couples make the mistake of always putting the kids 100% first, and then their marriage breaks up, right? If they had each other first and kept dating at least twice a week, and keeping the romance up and telling the kids, look, guys, we'll do for you Friday night, but Saturday night's our date night, the kids will adjust to that. But if you don't put it out there, they're just going to keep walking all over you,
Right.
So you have to put your partner in your relationship first. Second, there's a balance of an equilateral triangle, which is me, you, and us. So your us time has to be equal to the me and you time. So like for me, my me time would be my time at work, my time at the gym, my time reading at the beach, if I just want an hour or two alone. But if I'm doing that, I have to make sure my us time is there.
Right.
So if we're working a hard, Monday through Friday, by Friday night through Sunday, that's our us time.
Gotcha.
And if you have family, part of that us time is the kids and part is just the couple. So you really have to keep looking at that balance and saying, do we have balance? Third, I would say be what you want to attract. Be emotionally conscious and healthy. If you want a financially secure partner, you should have that area of your life together first before dating. But I always say you have to be a successful single before you start dating. And if you're not, get coaching. Work with somebody that will help you feel amazing about yourself, because your aura, your energy is, what attracts people the most to you.
Right.
If you're walking around with a pissed off face versus, happy and light and smiling and say, gosh, it's a beautiful day. People like the happy one. They don't like the mad, angry person, right?
That's true. That's very true. Everybody likes to feel be around that positive energy, that positive
That's
aura.
right.
Right.
That's
right.
it. So we have to get you to that state of inner bliss, and we do work on that. It's mindset, it's spirituality. My clients will meditate. It's nutritional health, what you're eating in your foods, your vitamins. None of my people are on psychotropic drugs. They might be when they come to me. They're off within 2 weeks because they don't need them.
Okay.
So, the mindset is everything about your healing and your emotional health. And then we go into requirements. Requirements are really important. We define like 8 to 10 of them for each person. And that means they're deal breakers if you don't have them. Like, you're not going to be able to stay in that relationship if you don't have this requirement. So one of them could be like if I'm coaching someone 28 through 34 and they definitely want children, then I say you have to ask your partner, on that first date, if it's a woman, are you a gentleman that sees yourself as being a dad?
Right.
And if he says something like, well, if the lady really wants it, then yeah, maybe, I guess so. That's the wrong answer. It would be absolutely. I definitely say as a man, being a father is such an important role. That's something I definitely want in my life. And that's a yes. So you don't compromise on your requirements. It's like for me, I would definitely want a non-smoker, not someone, oh, I'm quitting. Sorry,
Right.
No, I want a non-smoker, someone without addictions, period. So those are things you have to look at. Your requirements. And then there's emotional needs and functional needs. Functional needs are how you keep up your household or run your family. Are you working as a team, a partnership? Long gone are the days where I grew up watching Ozzie and Harriet and Leave It to Pete, where the woman just stayed at home and did all the household cooking and the chores. Like, we're out earning the money
Right.
just as hard as the man is. So why do we get the household chores and cooking too? Hell no.
I was about to say, I don't even know any women that stay home. I mean, it's like wow. It's kind of foreign to me, especially in this new society.
Exactly. Thank God. The men of I have a daughter, I don't know, Lexi Tanner, she speaks around the world. She's really cool, and Preston Smiles is her husband.
Mm-hmm.
And they are like the true millennial couple. They both work, they work together, they work separate, they work with the baby. They're amazing. And I said, I wish it was like that for me. I'm in the older generation. I'm 60, so we didn't have that. I was that 70s woman that had to go work, do the shopping, do the cooking, do the kids, and the guy just worked. So that's why our generation had a lot of divorces. The balance was so off that the woman was burnt out and stressed out and said, I'm not happy. I'd rather live alone and do my own thing, and you can go take care of yourself. So it was like the man was another child at that time, another person to have to take care of. So, now the balance is better with the couples 20s, 30s, and 40s. They get it because you guys watched your parents going through this imbalance, and you found it didn't work. Right?
Yes, we did. You know what?
Yeah.
Key word that I'm glad that you keep using is balance. Something that I feel that we don't necessarily pay attention to now as much as we need to. We're getting better, but
it's really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I call them the balance triangles, equilateral triangles. There's another one, mind, body, spirit, that I talk about.
Right.
So if there's someone always just going to the gym but doesn't feed his spirit or his soul by either meditating or attending a spiritual service or reading spiritually based literature, then you're not feeding your soul.
Right.
And it's not, like you said in the beginning, it's not just about your body. Like, people want the whole person. Like, who are you as a person?
Very
mind,
true.
body, spirit, right? So feeding your mind, always learning, always taking on new challenges, so you're excited about your life and your purpose and your passion. That's growth. And I love Tony Robbins when he says, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes.
That's a great quote.
Yes. Yes. You know what? I'm sorry. I just got to say this because you've made that statement, and I've often felt that a lot of times we've all heard the excuse of nobody's perfect. And I've often said this on my podcast and even to my clients, because I'm also a personal trainer. I'm like, the concept of nobody's perfect. I'm like, if you're not making mistakes, that means you're not learning. I'm like, which means we need to change the thought pattern of, it's not nobody's perfect because you are making mistakes. You're perfect because you do, and you have the option to change and grow and progress.
Yes.
So, with that, I totally agree with you. Riana, there are many other lists and tips that you have in your #1 best-selling book, Love Beyond Your Dreams, Break Free of Toxic Relationships to Have the Love You Deserve. Where can listeners find both of your books?
Yes. Well, first of all, they can get free chapter downloads of both Live and Love. They're sister books. They're meant to go together. Okay. One is about success and love, and Live Beyond Your Dreams is about the mindset for success. So go to my website, rianamilne.com, download those chapters. And also, if anybody wants to talk to me about their concerns, about their childhood trauma and how it's playing out in their life, I offer a free life and love discovery session up to 1 hour of time. It's worth $500. I take the first 7 from the podcast that apply. I open it up to 7 a week. And, just tell me your story. Just fill out the pop-up form, tell me your story. I'll be glad to meet with you by Skype. And I do this for people all around the world. And, listen to more tips on lessons in life and love. And you can get the archives on Spotify or listen to lifeandlove.com, my website for the podcast. And yeah, we're all perfectly imperfect, right? So, Moon, we're always supposed to learn.
Hey, it's constant growth. It's all about constant growth and progression.
That's it. That is it. So, I'd be really honored to work with your folks if they have concerns about this, sure.
Riana, thank you so much for coming on to the De La Fit podcast. We appreciate you and your energy so much. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
You're listening to the De La Fit podcast.
360 degrees holistic fitness and health all in one podcast. That is the De La Fit podcast. Big shout out to Miss Riana Milne for coming to us and sharing some information about childhood trauma, dating, and relationships, and how they affect us, how they can affect us, how we're connected, and a lot of other information, giving us some tools to kind of assess our lives and see what's going on, to give us kind of like a checklist to see, like, wait a minute, how are these prevalent situations in my life relevant to my life? Are they affecting me way greater than I think they are? Should I be looking at them a little bit differently? And I think those are all very useful tools for us as human beings. We need these things. We need to start looking at ourselves with a microscope, with a deeper microscope. I think too long we have been going without the proper knowledge of ourselves. Actually, I'm quite sure we've been going way too long with the proper knowledge of ourselves. And we are far more ignorant about ourselves than we truly would like to believe we are. The teachings of the past, or to say the ways that we've lived our lives in the past, we're coming to find out that a lot of that is not based in truth. I find that even how we relate to each other as human beings, how we relate to our own selves as individuals, come from certain murky areas when it comes to a lot of what we supposedly all know. And I'm looking at really what's taking place. A lot of people are questioning nowadays so much that is going on in the world with themselves. And I think that's a good thing. We should always ask questions. When you're asking questions, that means you are challenging yourself, but you're also growing. You're growing. You want to see what's really going on. You want to really open that door up to what's going on inside of you, which is so important. It's no different than lifting weights. After you've conquered lifting a certain amount of weight, you say to yourself, you know what, let me try this. It's just a natural progression of humanity, because you're saying to yourself, you know what, let's see what I can do. Let me push. Let me see what I'm capable of doing. Let me grow. And I think that's so necessary. We have to do that spiritually and mentally. But I do think we also need to start taking a hard look at what we have been taught about certain things and really start to pick it apart, decipher it with a fine-tooth comb, really looking at things and seeing what was right, what was wrong. Also, we have to do it with a very objective mind, a truly objective mind, in order to really get to the truth, to really get to the nuts and bolts of what is fact, what is fiction. There's a lot of fiction. There's so much fiction out there. There's so much fiction. There's still a lot of fiction being passed off as fact, even in this technological age that we're living in. And it's up to us to really go deep within ourselves and feel what's right, feel what's going on. I had a conversation with a young woman recently, and she was telling me about something that she was dealing with on a personal level. And she said, I'm not really certain how to deal with this issue. I said, well, let me ask you a question. How do you know that your daughter loves you? And I felt kind of, I felt kind of perplexed, or I don't know how to say it. I felt kind of bad about her answer. Her answer was like, I really don't know if she does love me. She said, I mean, she smiles at me, she hugs me, she does these things, but does that really mean she loves me, or is it just because of the treatment? I said, you can't feel it? You can't feel it when she smiles at you? I mean, to me, that's the truth. That's the fact that we have to get back to. You know when you feel love. You know what it feels like. Real love, you know what it feels like. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling. And we have to get back to feeling those true feelings. But to get back on par or back on page with what it is that originally we were talking about, thank you again, Miss Riana Milne. Thank you so much. We will definitely try to get her back on the show to talk so much more about more in-depth topics, because she has a whole list of information, a whole list of topics that she deals with and touches on. Please definitely go to her website. Everything will be posted on the De La Fit podcast website, which is delafitpodcast.com, and we'll be sharing that information quite soon. Next up is going to be one of my favorite guests, the trainer's trainer, Jeffrey Snyder. He's going to be discussing something, a very popular topic, especially for this date and time as we're in the last few weeks of 2018. That's right. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. Wow. We're in the last few weeks of 2018. Oh, what a year it was. And typically when we get to this point, what takes place is we start making resolutions. That's right, those resolutions. And one of the most popular is to get fit, to get healthy, to look better, to make ourselves stronger, to lose weight. We're going to talk about this specifically because many people have these resolutions, create these resolutions, and unfortunately things take place, life occurs, and the resolutions go by the wayside. So the trainer's trainer, Jeffrey Snyder, he's going to be discussing, giving you a small but precise roadmap of what you can do to help yourself. That's coming up next on the De La Fit podcast, the Dropping the Jewels segment.
Next up, Dropping the Jewels.
Do you enjoy listening to podcasts like the De La Fit podcast? Did you know that you can enjoy an even better listening experience with the new Pocket Cast app? With powerful search and discovery tools, they've made it easier than ever before to find your next favorite podcast. Pocket Cast is beautifully designed, easy to use, and offers amazing features like play without subscribing and advanced episode search. It was even recognized by Wired Magazine as the podcast app every iPhone user needs. Listen, change can be hard, but sometimes it's worth it. Download Pocket Cast today from the Apple Store or Google Play Store, or on the web at pocketcast.com. Trust me, you'll be glad you did.
De La Fit podcast. Tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 a.m. Pacific.
What's going on, everybody? We're back, and you know what that means. It's time.
It's time for Dropping the Jewels.
I've got with me the trainer's trainer, as I promised, Jeffrey Snyder. What's going on, Jeff? How you doing?
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Doing quite well, doing great. Getting ready to prepare for this gym rush, because you know what that means as we getting closer to the end of this year.
I do. I do.
You did not sound enthused.
The motivationist. The motivationist.
Oh,
yeah.
man. So, for everybody out there listening, around this time, most trainers and consistent gym goers know that during the holiday seasons, particularly just around this time, is when people start to make their New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
And everybody, one of those popular resolutions, as we all know, is to get fit, lose weight, or gain weight, or what have you.
Right.
So the gym...
To get in better health than they were the year before.
Exactly. You know, everybody says that, you know, that's what they want, and it's very popular. And the gyms get barraged with a ton of new faces, and they're extra crowded. And The gym managers love it as they celebrate all of the money going into their pockets and their businesses. Trainers, we're like, it's cool, getting a little extra cash, and a whole bunch of people that we probably won't see around.
Again.
What? The end of February?
Yeah, lingering into March.
Yeah, so the topic for today is we're going to be discussing, for you out there who is listening, who are serious about prolonging and continuing and maintaining your New Year's resolution, which is to get fit, get healthier, become more aesthetically pleasing to yourself, we are going to give you the tips necessary. And Jeff, I'm going to start you out right now. What is the most popular mistake that individuals make when making their New Year's resolution? What, in your opinion?
Overdoing it.
Okay.
They come in with a plan and they overdo it.
When you say overdo it, what do you mean?
I have to do the bike, the treadmill. I have to lift weights. I have to do this. They take on too much. They need to make a gradual change.
Okay.
And that makes it easier. If you come in, I understand you have a game plan. I understand you want to lose weight. I understand that you want to see results.
Right.
At the same time, don't come in there killing yourself. Stop. You're just gonna cold turkey. Just stop eating particular food, and you're gonna get to the gym. It's a process.
Right.
It's not gonna happen overnight. You got to take your time and say, okay, I'm gonna cut this out of my diet and see how it goes, and I'll cut that slowly but surely in moderation. If you don't do it in moderation, you're gonna fail.
So people overdoing it, biting off too much than they can chew when it comes to getting fit.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I also see, Jeff, is the fact of people, like you said, they overdo it, and then the other thing of it is not having a particular goal or plan.
Right.
Not knowing exactly.
They have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
They have a plan. Whatever it is, it's either most of the time it's I want to lose weight.
Right.
They have a plan, but they don't know how to execute that plan.
So what's the best way, if your experience for them to start the plan? How do they formulate it before? We know, getting a trainer and things like that, but for those who might not think that they can afford a trainer or they don't want to start off, they're like, no, I can do this on my own. What's the best way to start?
You're getting in the gym. Just get used to being in the gym. Just get on the treadmill. Then let's go get on some cardio first. Something that you know that you can do. Some people do it.
Mm-hmm.
And just get a feel of the gym. And go to different times of the day. A gym is like it's a living, breathing element.
Very
and
true.
some days you can go in the gym and the gym is quiet. Other days you go in, different times you go in the gym, it's fun and popping.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find out what you're most comfortable with, and just familiarize yourself with the gym, where the bathroom is, and that's the critical thing. Where the bathroom is, where the water fountain is. What are the gym's rules? Can you bring your own radio in? Can you, what are your gym's rules about wiping down a foot? Things like that. Just small things. You just get used to the environment. Then once you get used to the environment, then slowly ease into some machines. Unless you've been in the gym before, ease into the machine and ask people for help. Ask the front desk people for help. How to work a particular machine if you're not comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing to do is ask questions. If you don't know what you're doing, ask questions so you don't get hurt.
One thing I've seen dealing with that, Jeff, is like you said, some people feel they're a little intimidated to ask questions of the staff or, even other gym goers. Whether it's due to their own self-esteem issues or just, maybe you're like me, maybe you're antisocial, but.
Well, you're antisocial, but you're antisocial like you, or like me. You wouldn't be willing to, yeah.
Hey, I go to the gym.
I hate to repeat that, but yeah. Yeah.
So what's a good way, all right, for individuals if they're starting, like you said, they're getting used to the gym? Should they introduce themselves to the staff? How, in order to get themselves so that people know kind of, maybe to help them on their way?
Talk and ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
A dumb question is a question that's not asked.
Okay.
So if you're not asking questions about the equipment, the times that come to the gym, when the particular classes are, you need to ask questions. People at the front desk are there to help you. Whether they want to or not, they're going to have to help you. And you're going to have to ask questions. And especially during this time of the year, they step up their gym staff and they tell their staff, listen, you have a lot of new people coming in. They're going to be asking questions. Be nice, be courteous. Try to help them out as best you can. Refer them to a trainer if their questions go beyond your scope of knowledge. Refer them to a trainer.
Yeah, because a lot of times they can get off the Facebook and they can get out there on the floor.
Right. And a lot of the front desk people, some of them are knowledgeable, some of them are not. Some of them, have no idea what's going on.
Very true.
And so just ask questions. And just take your time. Don't overdo it, because what happens is you're gonna do that workout the first day, and this happens with a lot of guys that were working out years ago. They go and say, yeah, man, when I was in the gym, I was doing 300 pounds. And they get in the gym, they're benching 300 pounds or squatting, whatever, and the next day they can't move.
Yeah, I've seen that plenty of times.
And you go in and take your time. Just go in and just warm your body up. Just keep it light until your body gets acclimated. You just can't go in there and jump and do what you were doing before. You're crazy. It's happened to me too. I took 4 years off and jumped in the gym and called myself working out and tore myself up. And still had to go to work the next day.
Yeah, that's one of those tough moments.
Right, and I was younger then, and I didn't know better, but I knew better. So I'm still, hey, I'm in there with my buddies. I got the bug hit me, and next thing you know, we're getting in, and lo and behold, the next day I couldn't move.
Now,
I said I would never do that again.
That's another question I got to ask you. Should individuals go with the group? And if they're going to go with the group, what should the group maintain in their mind? Because being overly eager can be spurred on by that group mentality, especially guys.
Right.
All right. Yeah. I don't know how it is with women, but,
Women don't want to get hurt. Women have nothing to prove to another woman. They have nothing to prove.
Okay.
Men, we have everything to prove. I'm stronger than you. I'm faster than you. I can do more basketball shots than you. I can jump higher than you. We always have something we have to prove. The competitive edge and the pecking order of things. So the best thing to do is not get caught up in and say, hey, look, man, I don't get hurt. And even if they say, look, man, you're not going to get hurt. No, I know my body. I know my limits. I don't want to get hurt.
Right.
Take your time. You don't get caught up in that, because if you get caught up in it, you're going to get hurt.
Right.
And then you're going to regret it. So the best thing to do is, if everyone's doing 200 pounds, you haven't been in the gym in 10 years, do 50.
Mm-hmm.
Do 100. Just do what you can do. And don't let them push you any further than you need to be pushed.
What about that?
That's how you get hurt.
What about that old saying, no pain, no gain?
Yeah. Yeah. You'll be in pain, all right. You'll know. The best thing to do is you don't want, the whole point of working out is to be tight and mildly sore. You don't want to be in pain.
Right.
Right. And then there's different types of pain too. There's pain from the workout, or there's pain from you hitting you with a baseball bat.
Very distinct types of pain.
Different types of pain.
Right.
You want that I worked out feeling, in your muscles. But you don't want to overdo it again. You don't want to overdo it, because it can be extremely painful. It can be to the point where you need to go to the hospital. I've seen people do that, where they worked out so hard that their muscles actually started turning black and blue.
Yeah, and that's severe trauma to the muscle. That definitely means that they were really overworking themselves.
Right.
Or
they hadn't worked out in a long time, and just, because sometimes we can do that to ourselves now.
That's true.
We have people that haven't worked out in years,
Right.
And they get in the gym and they do bench press, maybe 6 or 7 sets of bench press, and next thing you know, their chest is black and blue because they haven't worked out so long. They overdid it.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be everything in moderation. Just take your time. It's not a race. It's a journey.
Exactly.
And just take your time doing it, because you don't want to get hurt.
Jeff, as always, we thank you for your time and your experience.
Thank you.
Della Fit Podcast. 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
That was the trainer's my bad, y'all. That was the trainer's trainer, Jeffrey Snyder. I always like having him on the show. It feels good when you can have a mentor of yours come and share their knowledge and have a conversation back and forth. And I always like it when he's on the show because he always gives such a real and honest critique and opinion about certain things that's going on. And hey, listen, this is what takes place in the fitness world, you know, dealing with the gyms and things like that. And we hope that it helps you all out there make educated choices, because that's what really this is about. I've said it time and time again so many times, each one teach one, and this is about the village, and that's what we're really about. You know, we are truly about this in the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health that we believe in. So we definitely hope that this Drop in the Jewels section helped you, the listener out there, because that's what this is about. I'm not going to take too much time for my outro this week. I just want to say that I love all of you out there. All of the listeners that tune in. Thank you. I do want to so I want to tell you all this really quickly. I like to think that I'm constantly learning. Every day, I'm constantly learning something new. I'm constantly learning about something new, what to do, how to make something better, how to do this. So I've been saying for the longest time, and I hope I've been saying the email correctly, dayla at gmail.com. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I don't know. I just want to let everybody know that the email to the show is dayla. You know what? Let me check again. I'm doing this literally at this very moment on my phone right now because you have no idea how much is taking place at that moment. So I'm checking my email. I'm making sure. And it is DayLifeFit13. I've been saying DayLife13 at gmail.com. For some people have hit me back and like, yo, it's saying that there's no email. It's DayLifeFit13 at gmail.com. And I'm checking again on my phone. And it should be listed on our website, which is www.daylifefitpodcast.com. Let me make sure I say that again because sometimes I'm a little exuberant. www.daylifefitpodcast.com. And yes, it is daylifefit13 at gmail.com. And I apologize to any of you who have been sending emails about topics and things you want us to talk about and getting no response. I greatly apologize for that. It is a learning curve for me to learn how to share information and do everything and add and create things and work with people on things and things like that. A lot of things I take on myself. I'm trying to learn to be more of a better leader in the sense of giving tasks to people, but it takes time. Listen, most of the sports and things I've ever participated in have been individual. So, hey, I'm learning, and I'm letting you all know I'm learning. But the email is daylifefit13 at gmail.com. And you can always reach us. If you can't reach us there, you can reach us at the website, which is www.daylifefitpodcast.com. You can reach us on our Instagram, which is Dayli. Now, if I'm correct, that's Dayli. It's day underscore. Wait. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I know probably you all like, just like, he doesn't know what the heck is going on. So, this is what I'm going to do. Everything is posted on our website, which I do know that. I know that firsthand, all right? And I wish you all could see me right now. I'm going back to my phone at this very moment, which the Instagram is day_lie_fit podcast, okay? All right? Listen, I'm having fun right now. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling extremely positive about the information that we just put out. Again, a special shout out And thank you to Miss Riana Milne for coming to us, sharing her information again about childhood trauma, dating and relationships, and the 10 traumas to look out for. If you sat down and you made your list, look at the list, evaluate the list. Miss Rihanna has opened up her services to all of you out there. I will post more about her in the article section of the website of the podcast, because she is doing positive work for people. And I think it's very important. Again, the 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health that we talk about is true. You need to move. You need to, I don't like to say exercise. I've said this before, but you need to move. You need to be fit. You need to play. You need to make your body feel strong and vibrant. At the same time, you need to do the same thing for your spirit. You need to do the same thing for your mind. You need to do the same thing for your wallet. You need to do the same thing for your sexual relationships, which we will have some special guests coming up in the near future who will talk about that, how to get fit in the bedroom. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what that is. If I had some guitars right now, I would play some guitars like. Oh, wait a minute. Or was it the saxophone? See, I'm in my 30s, so I remember when it used to be saxophones. Wait a minute. Y'all probably like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I guess. Anyway, we're gonna skip past that little foo bar that I just made right there. But as always, thank you for tuning into the De La Fit podcast. We greatly appreciate you. We greatly thank you for spending your time and energy with us, because you do not have to. And we thank you for all of the subscriptions. We thank you for all of the shares and likes. And we hope and wish that you will continue to be loyal listeners with us. We will continue to give our best to you. As always, please try your hardest to be the best person that you and we know that you can be. We truly know you can be the best person. It's possible. Don't ever let anybody tell you it's not possible. If a person tells you that, they've given up hope for themselves and they want to take people down with them. Don't allow that anger, frustration, despair to take you down with it. As always, you're here with the De La Fit podcast. Peace and be safe.
You've been listening to the De La Fit podcast. Ta-ta for now.